Here's a challenging one. I'm just going to read it. I cut out the parts from the message that have anything in there, so it's just that I'm a little shook up. Let me read it to you. So there's nothing in here that could give away who the person is. Although I don't get a lot of email that really shake me up a lot, but this one did. I've noticed you've done a couple of videos on. I noticed you've done a couple of videos on suicide recently, and more in the past. That's true. It's a topic that comes up a lot. But my query is less to do with whether or not someone should commit suicide, and more to do with your thoughts on how to, quotation marks, gracefully exit. And then in parentheses, not the greatest choice of words, but it'll do. I'm not sure if you've seen a movie called, in quotation marks, Night, Mother, and it's starring Sissy Spacek, but it kind of deals with the subject at hand. How does one approach suicide gracefully? Should one have a talk with a loved one before ending it? Do you just go off into the woods and without word, or leave a note behind? Or maybe there's not a way. I'm not looking to be talked out of suicide or anything. I'd just like to hear your particular view on the matter. I've enjoyed your channel and will continue to do so, with or without a response. Thanks for listening. This is, I mean, you almost left me without words. The only way that I can approach this is to approach it from the perspective of the person who's doing the leaving and the person who's going to be left behind, or the people who will be left behind. Let's do it in that order. Now, you in writing this, I don't get the impression that you're necessarily at that point. I get more the impression that this is kind of, I almost dare say the word morbid curiosity. You know, like, I mean, I've had that kind of, I mean, I'm not criticizing you. We all have morbid curiosity of some sorts. You know, I've looked at some pictures on the internet that, you know, arouse my curiosity. That I'm not talking about pornography, just some of the darker sides of humanity life. That, I mean, if there's an image in my mind once. One night I got up in the middle of the night. This was years ago, and I just was thinking about the Holocaust. And it was in the middle of the night, and I woke up, and I'd read all about it, and I had seen documentaries and stuff. But I felt I just wanted to see some graphic images, what it really was. And so I went and looked at some images of the Holocaust, and this is kind of I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure. It was more of a morbid curiosity. And I brought up some images, and while it was the middle of the night, my family was asleep, the house was locked, nobody knew what I was doing. I looked at a couple of pages of photos of Holocaust images. I saw more than I needed. I was haunted by some of the images that I saw. I did the job. I got what I was after, and it shook me up really, really bad that night. I had a hard time. It cost me some night's sleep after that as a result. So if that's what this is, if this is morbid curiosity, I understand where you're coming from. If it's something you're actually thinking about doing, then please see somebody. Don't take what I'm saying as much of anything at all. I'm just a guy sitting in a rack of racks here. I don't know much of anything, but I'll share with you what I've got. Let's go with a perspective from the person that's going to leave. I've been suicidal in my life once, a few years when I was very, very unhappy in my. I'll say it was, broad strokes, a decade of my 30s. It wasn't the whole thing, but it was a period there. It was a pretty rough period for me, and I don't think I was ever really in danger of doing it, but I used to entertain the thought, and I was really, really unhappy for a stretch there. And I can remember that from that perspective, graceful exit wasn't really on my mind. It was just the exit period. I think that people that are that, and if somebody's actually at the point where they're actually going to do it, I think they're probably beyond where I was, and they're messenger. I'm waiting for a message from my wife and daughter to go pick them up at the movie theaters. Reality comes crashing in. That wasn't them. I don't think that, I don't think, so from the perspective of someone who wants to leave, I don't think that they're really thinking a lot about the graceful exit. They'll try to do it the best that they can, but their main thought is to relieve the pain, to just get the weight off, the dark weight off of their, that smothering, it really is, it's like, you know, it's like having the, you know, something that's kind of porous that you can breathe through, but you can't quite breathe through. So let me get your face. And you can kind of breathe, but you can't quite breathe. That's kind of what it's like. And you just want it to end. So you'll do what you can to not hurt anybody in the process, but you may do it nonetheless. So I think that's the perspective that the people that are in that are that desperate are in. So they're probably not going to give them a thought. Now let's go to the other people, the people who are being left behind. There's no way you can. There's nothing you can do to have a graceful exit short of not letting someone who loves you be the one to discover. I hate this. I sound like I'm giving out suicide advice. I'm not. This is not my intent. Maybe I shouldn't even be making this video. See, this has really got me flustered. I'm just going to go ahead and finish it with just a caveat. This is just a guy, okay? I would think that if I was, well, I've been in that position. My best friend did commit suicide. And he had the courtesy of phoning me up to tell me about it ahead of time, and gave me the opportunity to try and talk him out of it, which I was unsuccessful in doing, in which he followed through on his, it wasn't really a promise or a threat, it was more of a commitment on his part. Now, I didn't have to be the one to find him, and I didn't have to live with anything or in a place where he had lived and died, and those were good things. That would have been, losing him, and that was hard enough. But if I had found him, or if you know, been roommates or something like that. So I'm gonna cut this off here because I'm starting to sound like this is starting to sound too much like a suicide advice video, and I don't want that to be the case. This pause is because I'm trying to decide whether I'm not even going to upload this. I guess I will. If only, if only for that last bit. If there's nothing that can be done, if someone sees this and is intent on committing suicide, and they don't, and they're not gonna get help, or they get help, and they're intent on doing it, then maybe at least they'll give some thought to those that they're going to leave behind, and try not to hurt them. I guess I'll leave it at that. Whew. It's a tough one. Okay, let's see.